Hello friends, I Nikat Parvin Khan welcome you all to this Polity FTR series of competition community. And in today's session, we will be dealing with the important objectives related to these two important sections of the Constitution, and that is emergency and constitutional amendments. Out of these two, emergency is more important than constitutional amendment, but constitutional amendments chapter actually deals with a very varied part of our Constitution, because constitutional amendment has been done in probably all the parts of the Constitution. So factual question related to constitutional amendment from any part can come. Fine. So the conceptual questions are usually more based on the emergency topics, and the factual questions will be more based on the constitutional amendment topic. One or the two questions will also be based on some miscellaneous topic in today's session. So let us start today's session with question number 1. So the question number 1 reads as: consider the following statement, and you have to identify, as you can see in the options, you have to identify the true statements from the given statements, and probably all these statements are related to national emergency. See, emergency is mentioned in the part 18 of the Constitution. In Article 352, national emergency is mentioned. In Article 356, state emergency or the President rule is mentioned. In Article 360, the financial emergency is mentioned, and all these three types of emergencies are declared by the President of India on the recommendation of the central government. An emergency means when all the powers of the state level get centralized. Emergency means a time period wherein the federal fabric of our country gets ruptured or gets suspended for some time, and for that time period the unitary fabric comes in vogue, comes into existence. Fine. So that is emergency, and these are the three types of emergency. That is the basic thing which you need to know, and the statements are based on Article 352, that is national emergency. We will read it one by one and we'll try to analyze them. In the situation of national emergency, the state completely comes under the control of center. I just told you that emergency, whether it be any type of emergency, especially in the national emergency, all the parts of the state get centralized. So yes, the state do come under the nation or the center in this emergency. Fine. So this statement is true. In the situation of financial emergency, center can deduct the salary of president, governor, judges, and all the government employees. So it is not only based on national emergency, the statements are also based on financial emergency, Article 360. It is telling that during financial emergency, the center can deduct the salary. Yes, financial emergency means when in a part of the country or in any state, the state government is no more able to handle the financial situations of the state, then the governor urges the president to impose a financial emergency in the state, and if it gets imposed, all the financial decisions get centralized. That is, all those decisions which came under the state government prior to the imposition now goes to the central government. And any financial decision means financial decisions of state related to taxes, financial decisions of the state related to salaries, pensions, allowances, any type of incomes or expenditure. We all know that India is a federal country and state governments do enjoy a few financial decision-making powers under the division of power mentioned in Schedule 7. But if financial emergency is imposed in any of the state, then except the general administrative decisions, all the financial administrative decisions are taken by the center only. So it can curtail the salaries of the employees as well. So it has the power to curtail. The center has the power. So in this way, the second statement also holds true. This is a correct statement. Coming to the third one, the governor works as the constitutional head of the state as well as agent of the center. Yes, it is telling something about the position of the governor, the constitutional position of the governor. We all know that the post of the governor is similar to that of the post of the president. At state level, governor is similar to that of president at central level. Governor is the constitutional head at state level, and he is also an agent of the center at state. See, the existence of the post of governor indicates the unitary feature of a government, because governor is there means there is a person who is a representative of center at state. Governor is appointed by the center only, but he works as the constitutional head of the state, and this means that there is a sort of control of center over the state through governor. So yes, he is the agent of center on state. So this statement is also true. Coming to the fourth and the last one, on the enforcement of precedent rule, he adopts the power of governor. He means president. There's a mistake in the sentence arrangement. On the enforcement of the precedent rule, president adopts the powers of the governor. It is also true because whenever a precedent rule is imposed at any state under Article 356, the president gets the power of all the general administrative matters and he acts just like a constitutional head for that state on which the constitutional emergency has been imposed. So, in place of governor, president only acts as the constitutional head. So, the fourth statement is also true, and in this way, all four statements hold true, and our answer will be D. All of the above are true. Got it? So that is it with question number 1. I hope you understood. If there is any doubt, if you want any more explanation, you can ask me in the comment section below and I'll try to answer it gradually, not immediately, but yes, I'll try to answer it within coming 1 week. Fine. So let us with that move on to the next question, question number 2. Okay. In this question, you have to identify the incorrect statement. See, there is a problem in the sentence arrangement, but you need to understand the theme behind the question. You cannot expect that PSCs will ask the question in a very proper grammar or the sentence arrangement or spelling. There are many mistakes in the language in which they ask the questions, whether it be in Hindi and more in English. So then too, you have to answer the questions and you need to identify the theme or the meaning, actual meaning, which is hidden behind the wrongly framed sentence. So in this question, if it is not the correct statement, means you have to identify the incorrect statement amongst the given 4 options. Fine, you have to identify the incorrect statement. We will analyze these statements one by one. In the situation of emergency, all the powers are vested in central government. Yes, we saw it in the last question only, that emergency means powers get centralized. Fine, so this statement is true. The national emergency can be enforced in any specific region of the president. This is also true because national emergency doesn't mean that it has to be imposed only in the nation. It means, according to the constitution, it means that the national emergency can be imposed in any state, group of states, any part of India, any region of India, or the entire country. There is no such limitation that it has to be imposed. If imposed, it has to be imposed throughout the nation at once. No, it is not the case. It can be imposed even in one single state. And in that way, it will act similar to that of precedent rule. Fine. So it can be imposed in any of the region and not necessarily the entire nation. So this statement is also true according to our analysis. The president can announce national emergency only on the basis of written recommendation of ministry. Yes. In the last question also I told you, the president announces the emergency and not on his own discretion. He actually acts in accordance with the recommendations given to him by the central government. Central government means the core cabinet gives the written recommendation to the president that this type of emergency has to be imposed and the president imposes an emergency. So it is indeed a true statement that only on the basis of the written recommendation of ministry, president proclaims the emergency. So in this way, first 3 statements are true and we need to identify the incorrect statement. We have not yet got our answer and we just hope that the last option would be our answer. The proclamation motion of emergency should be passed by 1/3 majority in both the houses of the parliament. True or false? It is false. See, emergency is a very important decision. As far as the national emergency is concerned, when it has to be imposed, when the proclamation is done by the president, it has to be imposed by the special majority. See, when the president declares the emergency, that declaration needs a parliamentary approval within 1 or 2 months. For national emergency, it needs parliamentary approval within 1 month, and for financial and the president rule, it needs parliamentary approval within 2 months of its proclamation. Okay, and that parliamentary approval, especially for the national emergency, has to be done by the 2/3 majority or the special majority, and there is no such majority which requires 1/3 of the total members. So it does require a parliamentary approval, but not by 2/3. But not by 1/3, by 2/3. So in this way, the option D is wrong, and this is only our answer because we had to identify the incorrect statement. Okay. So I hope it is clear. Question number 2. The answer to this question is D. Okay, now quickly let's move on to question number 3. It's a bit long question, so you won't be able to read the first and the last line. But as we move on reading the lines, I'll be displaying the hidden line also. In the first line, it is given, consider the following statements. Few statements are given, and in the answer and in the question, it is asked to identify the false statement. Okay, we'll look at the options later on. We'll one by one try to analyze these 4 statements, and we'll try to analyze that which of the given statements are false. President rule is declared when the state government is not working according to the constitution due to war. See, this part is wrongly, mistakenly mentioned here. It was not a part of the question. It is a typing mistake over here. The first statement says the president rule is declared when the state government is not working according to the constitution. This is true. Whenever under Article 356 president rule is imposed in any state, the reason behind it could be the failure of the constitutional machinery in the state. One type of failure of the constitutional machinery is when the results of the elections are dubious, when there is no government getting formed, none of the parties which contested the election got the clear majority. So in that way, for a sufficient amount of time, there could be an anarchy in the state. And anarchical situations might exist in state, and in that case also president rule can be imposed. Or if the present government which has been formed doesn't work in accordance to the constitution, it doesn't follow the rules of the constitution, it is proving to be a total failure in the front of administrative decisions, then the governor can urge the president to impose the president rule in the state, and the central government through president will dissolve the state government and president rule will be imposed. So yes, because of the constitutional failure, president rules do get imposed. Fine. So the first statement is true. We have to identify a false statement. Do remember this. The president rule is fixed for maximum period of 3 years. Exactly. See, it might be any kind of emergency, national, financial, or president rule, or the state emergency. All the types of emergency gets imposed for 6 months at a time. 6 months at a time means the bill which is passed for proclamation of the energy mentions 6 months as a time period, and after 6 months, if that emergency has to be continued, a fresh bill has to come which will mention the continuation of the emergency for further 6 months. Fine. So 6th month will take 6th month, and the emergency, all the 3 types of emergency has different maximum time period of imposition. Or at first instant it will be 6 months, and if required it will be again extended for 6 months. But if it is president rule, it cannot extend. It will be extended 6th month, but finally it cannot extend the maximum time period of 3 years. Fine. So 5 times it could be continued. First, if it is proclaimed, then for first instance 6 months, then 6 months, 6 months. 5 times it could be continued because 3 years means 6 months. Fine. So do remember this. President rule has to get revoked before 3 years in any manner, and the new fresh state government has to be formed there. So this statement is also true. Fine. This is also true. The announcement in all motions related to its continuation should be passed by normal majority. This is also true because if after 6 months a decision has to be taken that whether the emergency has to be continued or not, then a continuation bill has to be passed, and that to pass that bill, only a simple or the normal majority is required, that is 50% of the present members. That is it. So this is also true. Under president rule, the parliament can hand over the power of making law for the state to president. This is also true again. This is also true. Yes, when president rule is in vogue in any state, then the entire power of administration is centralized, and the central government takes all the important decisions via president. And all the important laws which comes under the state list are now framed by the parliament. And if parliament wishes, it can delegate those powers to the president, and president in return could execute and make the laws for those areas where president rule has been imposed. So yes, this delegation of power can be done by the parliament to the president. So the first statement is also true, and we had to identify the incorrect or the false statement, and none of the statements given are false. So in this way, our answer will be the hidden last option over here, which you cannot see in the screen, and that is none of the above. None of the above are false. All four statements are true. Answer will be D. None of these. Okay, all are true. Fine, I hope you understood, and now let's move on quickly to the fourth question. Okay. So you again have to identify the incorrect statement out of the given statements, and as I can see over here, all the statements are related to the financial emergency. Article 360, financial emergency. Okay, let us see these statements one by one. Financial emergency is mentioned in Article 360. Yes, we had seen this in the question number 1. Parliamentary approval to financial emergency should be taken within 2 months of its declaration. Yes. Other than national emergency, rest 2 types of emergency needs parliamentary approval within 2 months and not 1 month. National emergency requires a parliamentary approval within 1 month, and rest 2 require within 2 months. Do remember. So this statement is also true, and you have to identify the incorrect one. Fine. Financial emergency has been imposed thrice in India. True or false? This is false, because financial emergency has never been proclaimed in India. It has never been implemented in India. No such circumstances arise in wherein president has to impose a financial emergency in any of the states. So do remember that although there is a constitutional provision for financial emergency, but so far in India, it has never been used. So therefore, the answer will be C. It is the incorrect statement. Fine. Our answer will be C. So we have got an answer but we should need to analyze the last option also. State government doesn't get dissolved during financial emergency. This is a true statement. Other than the president's rule, in rest of the 2 types of emergency, the state government doesn't get dissolved. During the time of financial emergency, only the financial powers of the state get centralized, and the general administration is done by the state government only. So state government do exist. They generally administer the state but doesn't take the financial decision, because that financial decision gets centralized. So yes, the state governments doesn't get dissolved. This statement is true. Fine. So our answer will be B. Our answer will be C. Financial emergency has never been imposed actually, and it is written thrice. I hope understood. Fine, so let us with that quickly move on to the question number 5. Okay, which is the correct order related to imposition of national emergency in India? So, see, whenever the national emergency is imposed, then few steps are followed for its imposition. There are few formalities which has to be done for imposition, and you need to arrange the given formalities in order, which in the order in which they are followed. Declaration by President, Parliamentary approval, written recommendation from Cabinet, and suspension of fundamental rights except 19, 20, and 21. So you need to remember that firstly, a written recommendation from the Cabinet is required. The central government only decides that the emergency has to be imposed. Central government only decides that the emergency has to be imposed, and it has to give in written to the President. So the government or the Cabinet gives a written recommendation. Then the President declares the emergency. Then, as soon as he declares the emergency, Article 19 automatically gets suspended. Fine. As soon as he declares, the Article 19 automatically gets suspended, and Article 20 and 21, the fundamental rights, do not get suspended, as you all know. But rest of the articles, for suspending rest of the fundamental rights, after the declaration, he passes an ordinances to suspend the fundamental rights, the rest of the fundamental rights, and therefore I have written except 19, 20, and 21, because 20 and 21 do not get suspended at all, and Article 19 gets suspended, declaration of emergency. Fine. So he suspends the fundamental right by an ordinance which he passes, and After the declaration and the suspension of fundamental rights, within 2 months, the parliamentary approval is required. So, in this way, the correct order of the steps or the formalities should be 3, 1, 4, 2. Fine. So, option B, 3, 1, 4, 2 is the correct answer. 3, 1, 4, 2. Fine with that? So that is it with question number 5. I hope you understood. Now let us quickly move on to the question number 6. Which of the following statements related to amendment of constitution is incorrect? Again, an incorrect statement you have to identify, and now the questions are based on the second topic which was mentioned in the schedule, and that was constitutional amendment. And we'll try to analyze the incorrect statement. Constitutional amendment bill needs a prior recommendation from the president. True or false? This is false. C. Whenever any amendment has to be done in any of the part of the constitution, a bill is brought in the parliament. Fine. And that bill can be passed in any of the houses. It can be brought in Lok Sabha, it can be brought in Rajya Sabha as well. It can be brought either by a minister, it can also be brought by a private member, and it doesn't require any type of prior recommendation from the president. So initially it is considered like a very simple bill which is brought, or the ordinary bill which is brought, although constitutional amendment is a very important bill, but then too the initial procedure of its presentation is very similar to that of ordinary bill. Fine. So it doesn't require the prior recommendation of the president. The bill goes to the president at last only, after it has passed from the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So we have found our answer. The answer is A, that it is the incorrect statement, but we need to, just to assure ourselves, we need to analyze the rest 3 options also. To amend a federal feature, consent of at least half of the states is required. This is true statement, because if any federal feature, like the feature of the election of president, if that has to be amended, then it doesn't only require the special majority of the parliament, it also requires the consent of at least half of the states of the country, because if it is a federal feature, then that feature will somehow involve the states as well. So the center itself cannot take a decision wherein the states are also getting involved. So such a type of feature wherein the states are also involved also needs the consent of the states. So if an amendment has to be done in the election of the president, then that bill seeks a special majority in the parliament and a simple majority in at least half of the states of the country. Then only that will be passed. Fine. So this statement is true for that. Coming to the C statement, constitutional amendment bill can be presented in both the houses. Yes, I told you while explaining the first point, it can be brought either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha as well. And lastly, the features of rule of law is non-amendable. This is also true. See, there are a few important provisions of the Constitution which I mentioned in the basic structure of the Constitution, and it is said by the Supreme Court that these features cannot be amended. If we say that our Constitution is a blend of rigidity and flexibility, this is because there are few features which can be amended very easily, but there are few which cannot be amended at all. And one of such feature which cannot be amended at all is rule of law. Fine. No amendment can be done to remove or eradicate the feature of rule of law from the country. Fine. So therefore, this option D is also correct. And as we had already analyzed, option A is the only wrong option given here, and it's our correct pick. It's the answer to this question. A. I hope you understood. Now coming next to the question number 7. Okay, you have to again identify the correct statement related to the constitutional amendment. In the last question, the previous question, we had to identify the false statement. And in this question, you have to identify the correct statement, and that too related to constitutional amendment. Quorum of parliament can be amended by special majority, 7 by simple. So, while amending any of the provision of the constitution, which type of majority is required? This question is based on that section only. In my lecture also, and in the PDFs which have been provided to you all, and in any of the standard books like M. Lakshmikant or Subhash Kashyap, you'll find a list of the provisions which can be amended by simple majority, which can be amended by special majority, and which can be amended with the assent of half of the states as well. So, if any provision is very simple, it can be amended by simple majority. Fine. And if it is very important, if it is very important feature, then it needs a two-third majority at the center. And if it is a federal feature, just I told you in the last question, if it involves the state also, if it is related to the central-state relation, that then it not only requires the special majority at central level, but also requires the simple majority at least half of the states of the country. Fine. So we in this question need to analyze that which feature can be amended by which type of majority, and on that basis we need to identify the correct one. Okay. So quorum of parliament can be amended by special majority. True or false? It is false because it can only be amended by a simple majority. It's a very simple provision, and just by the 50% majority of the present members it can be amended. Okay. Seventh schedule can be amended by simple majority. It is wrong. Seventh schedule is related to the division of power between central and state, and it is a federal feature, and it also needs the assent of half of the states to get amended. So it cannot be amended by simple majority. Okay. Third one is DPSPs can be amended by special majority. This is true. Whether it be fundamental rights or DPSPs. These are the two important elements of a constitution, and if they have to be, although not federal, but if they have to be amended, they need two-third majority at parliament in the both houses. Okay, so we have got our answer. Our answer is C because we had to identify the correct statement. But we need to analyze the last one also. Amendment in official language can be done by special majority in parliament and assent of more than half of the states in India. See, official language, any provision related to official language is not related to the federal feature of the constitution. So it can be amended by simple majority only. We need not to get the consent of the states and a special majority at parliament. So it can be amended by simple majority and not by this procedure. So in this way, the statement is also wrong, and we have got the answer at last. This is C. DPSPs can be amended by special majority. Fine. So that is it with question number 7. Let's quickly move on to the question number 8. Okay, so this is a very direct factual question related to the constitutional amendment. I have put this question in today's session just to give an example that any of the constitutional amendment so far can be asked to you. So far, there have been 104 constitutional amendments, and in that list, you need to remember at least 20 to 25 important constitutional amendments, and direct questions on those amendments do come. Although you know that 42nd, 44th amendments has to be dealt in detail, but rest 20 to 25 amendments, which I have told in my lecture, and you might be knowing that the amendment number 42, 44, 71, 52. Okay, I won't be telling it here. If you need to get this in detail, you need to go through my mobile course. That there I have told you the important amendments. 20 to 25 amendments are there which you need to remember, and one among those amendment is this one. So any direct question can come from the constitution amendment, and it will be asked in which amendment this change was done, or the amendment will be given what change was done in that amendment. Okay, vice versa the questions can come. So the question asks, Sikkim got this status, it should be, it is mistakenly written like this, status. Sikkim got the status of complete state under which constitutional amendment? So the answer is B, 36th constitutional amendment. So we all know that Sikkim was not earlier a part of India, and it was later added to Indian territory in the year 1975. Actually, it was added in the 1974 only. By this 35th Amendment 1974, Sikkim was added to Indian territory during the time of Indira Gandhi government and was given the status of associate state. But by this 36th Amendment, it was given the status of full-fledged state. Okay, so it is not asking that by which amendment Sikkim was included in India. If that was the question, then answer should be 35th Amendment. But it is asking that by which amendment it was given the status of full-fledged state, then the answer should be B, 36th Amendment 1975. Okay, fine with that. It is very short question, need not to get into much detail in this concept. Okay, let us now quickly move on to question number 9. Which of the following amendment was not done by the 44th Amendment 1978? I told you 2 to 3 questions back that 42nd, 44th amendments are very important. You need not only to know 1 or 2 amendments which were done in these 2 years. You also need to know at least 5 to 6 changes which was done by these 2 amendments, and a comprehensive question can come from these 2 amendments. Here I have put a question of 44th amendment. A question from 42nd amendment can also come. Fine. So what you have to identify, which change was not done. That means the rest of the statements relate to the changes done by this amendment. Okay. Fundamental right to property was deleted. Yes, it was done. We all know that 44th amendment is known for its deletion of fundamental right to property, and it was shifted from the list of fundamental rights and to the list of legal rights. So yes, this amendment was done. So this is not our answer. The time period for parliamentary approval to national emergency was decreased from 2 months to 1 month. This was also done. You all might be knowing this, that in 1975, during the third national emergency imposed in India, many allegations were imposed and saying that the democratic fabric of the country was ruptured through the imposition of this national emergency third time. So Morarji Desai government came into power, and during that time only the 44th Amendment 1978 was done, and in this amendment, many provisions of emergency were changed so that in future no prime minister can impose national emergency in a manner that Indira Gandhi had imposed. So in this amendment, many steps were taken to make the imposition of national emergency more difficult. And one such step was to decrease the time period of parliamentary approval from 2 months to 1 month. So if a government takes a decision and asks the president to declare an emergency, then the parliament, usually the parliament prior to this had 2 months of time to approve that emergency. But in 2 months, if national emergency is imposed and parliament doesn't want to give the approval, then in 2 months many things can be ruptured. Many things can be destroyed. Many circumstances can drastically change. So it was made a provision in this amendment that not within 2 months. It should be done in urgency, and within 1 month only Parliament should have a say over the declaration of the emergency. So yes, this change was done. So this is also not our answer. The third one is President was made bound by the advice of Cabinet. This is our answer because this is the wrong statement. This amendment was done by 42nd Amendment 1976. In this amendment, Indira Gandhi government made many provisions to proclaim the emergency very easily. Many changes were done in the constitution and also in the powers of the important centralized bodies so that the emergency can be imposed very easily. To remember, steps to make the imposition of emergency easy were taken by the 42nd Amendment, and to make the emergency more difficult were taken by the 44th Amendment. So in the 42nd Amendment, Indira Gandhi government made the president bound to the advice of cabinet. Although president acts in accordance to the advice of the cabinet only, but he was not bound by the constitution prior to this. But in this amendment, he was made bound. Although this particular change was revoked in the 44th Amendment. It was revoked later in the 44th Amendment, but it was done in 42nd Amendment. So this is the correct answer actually, because this amendment was done by 42nd and not by 44th. Okay, so answer is C. None of the above doesn't come into C. Okay, so that is it with question number 9. Coming quickly to question number 10. So question number 10 has not been taken from the 2 topics mentioned. I told you 1 or 2 questions will be based on the miscellaneous topic, and this is one of those questions. You have been given a match the following in 2 lists. You have to match the tribal areas to the state. And if you could analyze these states given, you could have recalled that these states are mentioned in the Schedule 6 of our Constitution. If you all have memorized the schedules, you know that in Schedule 6, it is mentioned that there are special provisions related to the administration of the tribal areas of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. Remember this? Yes. Schedule 6 tells that there are special provisions related to the tribal areas. So we usually think that these 4 states have some special provisions. No, these 4 states, throughout the state, special provisions are not imposed, only in the special tribal areas. So you also need to know that which are those tribal areas in these 4 mentioned states. So let us try to match the tribal areas for which Schedule 6 is mentioned. For Assam, it is very obvious, Bodoland. This is a regime related to Bodoland. So the tribal area in Assam is Bodoland. In Meghalaya, it is Khasi. You all might know the hills of Garo, Khasi, Jaintia, and Meghalaya. So from that, you can analyze that Khasi tribal area could be there in Meghalaya only. Tripura, it is directly related. Tripura tribal areas, and Mizoram, the only left one is Chakma district. This is the tribal area in Mizoram. And for these tribal areas only, special provisions are mentioned in Schedule 6. So in this way, so there's a problem in the match. Actually, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is A, B, C, D. So 1 gets matched with D, 2 gets matched with A. 1D, 2A, 3C, 4. Option A is the correct answer. Got it? Option A is the correct answer. Fine. So that is it with question number 10. Hope you got it. It was a very factual question, but it was something in depth which you have already studied. Okay. Let us then quickly move on to the next question. Question number 11. Arrange chronologically on the basis of the formation year of the following union territories. Okay, this question is again a question from a miscellaneous topic of union and its territories, or part 1 of the constitution. While you study that part, you need to know the formation years of all the states of India, right from the state reorganization in 1956 till the formation of Telangana, or till the formation of Union Territories of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. You need to know the formation year. It could come in chronologically arranging them. Fine. So what in this question has been asked? All the 4 given options are Union Territories. You need to arrange them in order of getting the status of Union Territory. So Delhi was given the status of Union Territory by 1956, the State Reorganization Act only. So Delhi was formed in 1956. Dadra and Nagar Haveli by 10th Amendment 1961. Daman Diu, all these were Portuguese colonies and later was made free and was then given a status of Union Territory. So by 12th Amendment, Daman and Diu was made India's Union Territory in 1962. And by the bifurcation of Punjab and Haryana, Chandigarh was made the Union Territory in 1966. Okay. So 56, 61, 62, 66. They are already arranged chronologically. So the answer will be D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fine. So go through the formation years of rest of the states of our country as well. Fine. Such a question from other states or union territories can also come. Okay. So that is it with the question number 11. Now coming to the last question of today's session, question number 12. Which of the following statements related to 104th Constitutional Amendment 2020 is incorrect? See, this is a question of amendment related to the current affairs. We all know that the latest amendment to the Constitution was made in the year 2020 only, in January 2020. And in that, the main thing which was changed was the nomination of Anglo-Indians in the state assemblies and the Central Lok Sabha was abolished. That was the change for sure which was done. What other changes were done? You need to identify. You actually have to identify which change was not done. So one of the given options is for sure true. That is, it removed the reserved seats from Anglo-Indians in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. This was true. This was done. And option B is also correct. Actually, this amendment was done to extend the reservation of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes for 10 more years. Last amendment for such reservation extension was done in 2010. Actually, it was initially also decided that the reservation won't be a permanent provision. If required, it can be extended by 10 years. So lastly, it was extended in 2010, from 2010 to 20. Now by this amendment, 104th amendment, it is again extended from 2020 to 2030. Therefore, it is written 70 to 80 years. Right? So this was also done by this amendment And now there's a confusion between A and D. Are all the given statements correct or is A wrong? Actually, A is wrong. Answer is A. It amended Article 336. It is wrong because it amended Article 334 instead of 336. Everything which I told you about these cancellation of reservations and the extension of reservation is mentioned in Article 334. So if you are preparing Constitution in depth, you need not only to know the superficial amendments which were done, you also need to know that which articles, parts or schedules were amended by that amendment. Okay, so Article 334 was amended, not 336. So our answer will be A. It amended 336. That is only the incorrect one. Fine. So that is it for today's session of Polity FTR. And tomorrow will be the last session of Polity FTR that will be uploaded at around 7 to 8 p.m. Why 7 to 8 p.m.? Because tomorrow's session, same session at Hindi Competition Community's Hindi medium channel will be taken live. So if you guys want to attend that live session, go visit the Hindi medium channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. because the same session which will be uploaded for you all at English medium channel at 7 to 8 p.m. will be live at 6 p.m. Fine. So you can attend that live session also, and after the completion of that live session, the same lecture in English will be uploaded for you all in this channel. Okay, so that is it for today's session. Thank you so much.
CGPSC की संपूर्ण तैयारी के लिए कंपटीशन कम्युनिटी के YouTube चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और डेली अपडेट्स के लिए बेल आइकन को प्रेस करना ना भूलें।